my channel. Thank you for tuning in. Welcome back to my subscribers, and if you're new here, welcome, and I hope you like what you see. I am doing a page today. This one was a labor of love, but we all know that I enjoy a fiddly layout. I like to, it doesn't have to be difficult, but when it's finished, it looks like it may well have been extremely hard. Now, what I did is first of all, I'm using the PAIGE Evans Splendid collection. To say that I love this collection is an understatement. I absolutely love the colors. All right. So what I ended up doing, and I actually thought I had the video on and I didn't. So I did miss a bit. And for all my other subscribers, I didn't intentionally do that. That was because normally what I do is I fast forward, but I leave all the content in there. So you see when I make a mistake, you see when it works really well, you see all of that. Now, what I'm doing is I've used two papers. I've used the number 5, which is the yellow, and I've used the number 3, which is the stripe. Now, what you didn't see me do because it cut out was I went along and I've cut 1-inch squares out of the stripe. And if you're wondering why I've got a gap here, I'll explain that in a minute. But what I did is I went through and I cut 1-inch squares, and then I went around, and you might think I'm crazy here, but I roughed up the edge of every single striped square. So it's got a nice bit of texture on every single square. Now, originally the page was just one stripes going one way. That's it. Well, I can't do that. That's not me. I have to create chaos. That's what I like to do. So I went around the border. So hang on, rewind. Okay, sorry, my brain's getting ahead of me. What I'm seeing and what my brain's thinking is two different things. Okay, so I went around the border with the yellow 1-inch squares. The 1-inch yellow squares, I didn't rough them up. The striped ones I did. So it actually creates a different effect. It looks really cool. Now, what I do, you can see what I'm doing there. I'm just doing a cross-hatch pattern with the striped squares. And every so often, just randomly, I chuck in another yellow one. The reason I did that is because it gives you, it sort of breaks it up in your mind. You kind of go, oh, where'd that come from? Hang on, that's not a pattern. And the stripes are not necessarily in a pattern either. So it looks super, super busy and it looks difficult. It's not. How did I get all these lines straight? The reason I went around the outside edge with the yellow first is every single 1-inch square, I lined up the 2 side points with the very edge of the white cardstock. And then I literally touched each one all the way around. That gave me perfectly straight lines, because then when I come in with my squares, I just butt them all up against each other and it's perfectly straight. So as much as it looks difficult, it's really not. And it was actually quite cathartic and it was relaxing just doing it. Even though it looks so busy and so bright, it was so good. Okay, so now you can see that the 2 sides don't meet up. There's a gap in the middle. Why? I'm doing a 12 by 12 layout. Right. But for myself, and I say this regularly, I use CM albums and I have to take 1/2 inch off my page. I have to take half an inch off the side of the page for that page to then fit in my album. What I've learned is it's easier to do it at this point than, can you imagine putting all this work in and then having to cut half an inch off the edge? Devastating. It is literally devastating. So yes, I'm doing this in major fast forward because you can well imagine this took a little bit of time, but it wasn't difficult. I urge you to give this a try. It was not difficult at all. Once I got through these squares, now I didn't embellish the daylights out of this for a couple of reasons. I love all the bold colour. I love the pattern that's been created in the background. And because I'm adding 9 photographs to this, I actually was going to add 12, but I peeled that back a little bit. Now, coming up now, you're going to see how I fixed this 1/4 inch line straight down the centre. What do you do with that? I was figuring it out in my head as I went. And once I go along, this is so satisfying. Seriously, so satisfying. Get ready. It looks so good when I do this. These Tim Holtz scissors are so good for this. The long bladed scissors. How good does that look? Now I have a line. Okay. I toyed with the idea of doing that. No, that's not what I wanted. So I went back to the same piece of yellow and I cut 2 1/2 inch pieces. And I go along the edges with my scissors. Now, I don't open my scissors. I'm not using the blade of my scissors. I'm actually using the edge because those ones have quite a stiff edge on them, like sharp edge on them. So that's what I ended up using straight through the center. And it worked perfectly. It covered. And you got to remember, I'm putting photos over the top of this as well. So as much as that looks crazy busy, once the photos go on, you don't really notice it as much. So here I'm just going along and roughing the edges up. I zoomed in then, but I was too quick. Sorry. I forgot that I had to speed this up to get all of the content in there. And then, of course, I still need my white border around my yellow border. So that's why I ended up with such a big gap. Now, these are my photos. I've printed them. These were 3x3 photos, I think they are, from memory. I will measure one just to be sure, but I think they're 3x3. Oh, 2 3/4 by 2 3/4. I lied. My bad. So they're 2 3/4 by 2 3/4. Now, another thing about me is if I want it to be crooked, I have to make it purposely crooked. I felt with these photos, I had to make them crooked because the pattern was so straight. Now, photos are down. My title is actually written in the sand, Family 2016. So I didn't want to add any extra stickers or anything like that. Originally, I was going to run some white thickers through up the side. But once I'd done this bit, I didn't want to do it. I didn't think it needed it. However, I did come in with my white Posca pen, which seems to be a favourite of mine lately. But I felt it just needed a little bit of pop. Right from the very beginning, I was going to do black. But right at the last minute, I played with it, and on a scratch piece, I did black, white, I even did gold, I even did my yellow glitter Posca pen. And the white just, it just looked crisp. I liked it. I just liked it like that. So all of the details will be below in my description, and I will now do the thing that I'm not very good at. I would love it if you're a new subscriber and you would subscribe to my channel. That would help out my channel greatly. It will allow other people, other scrapbookers or paper crafters to come to my channel and see what I do and see how I scrap a little bit differently. And now I've got some close-ups for you. So you can see how the white pen just makes that yellow edge just pop a little bit more. And I've raised up the center photos on foam. The rest have gone down flat. And that's about it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. And I will be back with more content tomorrow. Thanks very much for watching. Bye.